If you're like me, you've got contacts in every single possible format. Email, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. And it's becoming harder and harder to stay on top of them. To help me make sense of this mess, I use Smarter Contacts, the free app that automatically creates rich profiles for all my contacts right on my smartphone. The thing I love most about this app are the rich profiles it creates. I can see photos, job titles, company details, and updates from social networks all in one place, all in context. This is a free app and available on all mobile platforms. Head to www.untether.tv/smarter to download it today.
Hi, I'm Phil.
And I'm Worley, and we're here to show you the follow-on to the Board of Awesomeness, the Board of Imagination, which instead of being powered by a Kinect, is powered by this emotive headset. Phil, you want to tell them how it works?
Let's just start with the board from the top in case you missed our wonderful Board of Awesomeness. We actually have the brains behind this, the Samsung tablet running Windows 8 developer preview. We actually have our USB cable that runs up underneath where we connect in with our wireless transmitter for our headset. It detects your brain waves. It actually figures out where you want to go. You imagine yourself being there, and it actually takes you forward.
Piloting the board is pretty simple. It's actually a lot easier than our first version. What you do is you take the emotive headset, and once you've made sure that the contacts are moist, you simply put it on your head, adjust it right above your ears, and make sure all of the contacts are in the right position, and then it starts picking up the signals from your brain. So that's how you make it go. So basically what I'm doing is imagining a point in the future, getting closer, and then stopping.
Okay. With a Coke in hand, talking to Worley about the second, what is this? The Board of Awesomeness times 2? What are you calling this one?
Well, it was, Rob, it was going to be V2, but what it is called is the Board of Imagination.
The Board of Imagination.
And the reason that happened, and I wish Phil, who you talked to last time, was here, but he didn't sleep last night either, so he went home as well. We were making our video yesterday, so I'm kind of the last person in the office. But
I should say it's pretty late at night. You've been up for 48 hours.
Yeah, we've been up for quite a while. But you know, we wanted to make our video and get it out in time because we have some big news coming up on Monday, and we wanted to get this out first. What we did is the Board of Awesomeness was cool. It was great, and it had some limitations. Ambient light, you know, direct sunlight, things like that aren't good for the infrared. And we were sitting around brainstorming, and we were thinking, what could we do? And kind of as a joke, what was thrown out was mind control. And you know, then we went past that and we kept going. And then you know, Phil and I were like, wait a second, mind control. That's awesome. And so we started researching EEGs and human computer interface technologies around interpreting brainwaves. And so where we ended up is with this fine dandy device, which is called an Epoch. It's made by a company called Emotive. There are tons of different ones of these. We personally, after our research, ended up with this and called them and said, you know, in standard Chaotic Moon style, hey, you should really send us a bunch of your stuff for a little bit because there's some cool stuff that could happen, and you want to trust us on that. And you know, they did, and they were incredibly cool and very, very good sports about it. And then we told them what we were going to do with it. We showed them the video, and they were just like, okay. And, but the way this works is it has a series of saline sensors on it. So you can see the connections inside, the little brass connections, and then it comes with this beautiful little kit here. And these are the saline pads. A little bit hard to see in there, yeah, but you kind of see. So you essentially attach these pads into these sensors, and then I'll go ahead and put it on without them just for demonstration purposes. You put the helmet on, like the headset. It's not really a helmet. That was a big discussion earlier today, which was if I'm wearing this to control the board, I can't wear a helmet.
No kidding.
So we're going to actually call them and see if they'll let us take this one apart and build it into the helmet. But basically, the way this works is these sensors are positioned on your head, and then you have some software. And that software has a display, which you can see that little head there with all the sensors on it.
Yeah.
And essentially what it does is it takes your brainwave patterns and it measures and maps them and translates them. And so what's really cool about that is that you can train it to do certain things. So with the emotive software that comes with it by default, they have exercises like, imagine you're pulling this cube towards you, or pushing this thing away, or turning this clockwise or counterclockwise. So what the user can do is they can wear this and kind of go through a bunch of recording of data and training and stuff, and kind of get used to, if I do this, this happens. So there's an expression engine, and that is like if I smile. They have these little apps where like there's an avatar and you smile, it smiles, you wink, it winks. And then there's a cognitive engine, which is using the actual data that is from the electric data from your brain. And it gets really interesting because everybody's brain is different. So the brain is folded, and most of the processing is happening on the outside, and your brain is folded different than mine, different than Phil's, different than Ben's, and Mike's, and everybody at Chaotic Moons. So I can't really train and record a profile that's like, this means push or pull or whatever, and then let anybody else do it. It's kind of a per-person thing, but it is relatively easy to train, and we actually came up with some tricks that we're going to reveal on our website later with the open source of how we combined things it was picking up with things we were doing physically that were causing different brainwaves with what we were thinking. So we kind of have a three-part system of data. And so what we came up with, and it's really cool, is as you saw in the video, I look at a point where I want to go, and that can be really far off, or that can be close by. And I look at that point, and I just kind of imagine myself at that point. When I do that, combined with some of this, the way this data is combined, then the board takes off for that point. Now, we don't have the range where we want it yet. We do have a range. We can go slower, we can go faster, but to be blunt, the curve would kind of look like if this was a slow point, it would look more like this.
Yeah.
And we want it to look more like that. And so we're working on that, but that gets a little tricky based on how much data we're getting and receiving, and things that are really interesting, like distraction. When you're,
That's right.
you're down, you're like,
Squirrel!
You thought, yeah, that's very bad at 32 miles an hour.
It is, yeah.
And I'm pretty ADD, so that hasn't really worked out too well for me. But this thing is really amazing. And the number one thing people have asked us about the video, which has been, like most of our videos making its round around, these different websites, is they're like, okay, everybody IMs me and says, let me just ask you this, what's the trick?
Yeah. Is this a sleight of hand illusion?
And there is no trick. In fact, at South by Southwest, we'll be letting a select number of customers ride this at a little private event we're having, and we'll probably be riding it around, and we're, we've already been asked, well, could you bring it out and let people ride it? And the answer is actually yes. We would need additional headsets for somebody to train on, and then we could upload their profile onto the board, and then it would take them a little getting used to. But believe it or not, it's actually easier than the Kinect in the few tests we did, yesterday and today with just kind of random people in the office.
Really, it's easier than the motion one.
It is, and here's the reason. Okay, I have no logical justification for this is the reason, but doing all the experiments we do on all of the people we do them on, we've learned some things about people, and one of the things that I think is when you're doing the Kinect, you put your hand down as the throttle, and even though that seems like a very natural, that's the simplest control system. So we have up to 40 controls on the Kinect on the Board of Awesomeness, and we can do a variety of different things. And the simplest one is we have a hitbox, and the closer your hand is, faster you go. And there's some range, which we can make this slow to high, or we can make this slow to high.
Right.
And so basically, when people do that, it's an electric motor, and you get the torque right away, and they're not quite expecting it. And so they fall a little, and when they fall, their hand comes out of the box or something, and that cuts them. And so there's this kind of stuttering effect with the Kinect. And to no fault of the Kinect's own. I mean, I think the Board of Awesomeness, it's always going to be the first, and it's always going to be awesome. But with the Board of Imagination, because people are actively engaged in thinking about, I'm going to go there, they're not only are their heads up and they're looking forward, but they tend to lean a little bit, which means when the motor takes off, they bounce back just like they would, but there's no control system that's watching their body. So they can bounce back and even move around quite a bit, you know, and that's fine. Now there is a trick to it, and the one thing that can be considered a trick to the Board of Imagination is that there is, under certain circumstances, up to a 2-second delay between taking all the data from the brain, translating it, and getting it out through the Samsung tablet we're using, and converting that to electrical impulses for the board. So
it just sounds so crazy, man. It just sounds so good.
So you can think like, you know, I'm visualizing myself over there, and then 1001, 1002, and then you're going.
Yeah. And
so when you're slowing down, you want to think about that. Now, we left the kill switch, deadman switch, safety switch, whatever you want to call it, on the board in this version. So there is an emergency stop. You know, if you have an emergency, you can just do that. Don't worry about trying to think, you know, about a fast stop or whatever.
Stop.
Because what we found in the limited testing, and this happened to me myself, is when you do get into a kind of critical situation like that, or potentially life-threatening situation like that, you know, riding it on the 360, you know, highway, as Phil called it, not the best plan. But you know, when you're doing that, you know, you're thinking about what could happen and a million other things, and so it's best to just, you know,
just kill switch
jump forward or use a kill switch. So that safety measure is in there, and that works really well. But again, that delay is, you know, at most 2 seconds, and it's really, you know, it's really not an annoyance or a nuisance or anything at all. In fact, I've found that with new riders, that delay gives them just enough time that they're like kind of get it and they think about it, and they do that breath thing. They're like, they let half of it out, and then they go, and it's actually kind of in a weird way worked out to make it easier when you've never ridden on it before for you to ride it. But you know, of course, we want to eliminate that.
So it's a because when I saw it immediately, I thought, okay, listen, I mean, how is it that they've managed to do this in such a short period of time since the Board of Awesomeness? So I mean, and it's absolutely 100% true that you know, your brain is powering this thing. That's incredible.
Yeah. And so I'm gonna go ahead and while we're talking about the project, I'll drop some saline solution, which is, you know, it's what helps the conductivity, and I'll get these things and assemble them as fast and as best I can, and see if we can actually at least show you some data from the headset on the tablet. I don't know, because the tablet's so bright, whether you'll be able to see it over Skype on your screen, but we'll see.
Really, why do this? Just 'cause?
No, everything we do has an ulterior motive. So this is part of a series of projects we'll do around everything from generative art to some really interesting control systems and some very, very interesting mobile applications. Really taking things to a completely different level in a couple of fields that I can't really get. You know, I don't want to give away the secret plans, but you know, obviously this technically is a wearable computing device, right? Yep. And we're working with a bunch of fabric manufacturers and other things. So there'll be some really great, interesting things, as we promised you in the beginning. You know, coming out. Phil tightens these down so hard, I'm having a little trouble getting a couple of them out. But as you can see, it's pretty easy. I just the sensors just take about a quarter turn clockwise. So you just seat it in there and put it in. This is not an EEG like at a hospital. This is not something that, oh, I need training. How do I do it? By the way, the device is only $500. Now, you have to license one of various SDKs. There's a sample one and other things, but relatively cheap when you imagine what you're using and what you're using it for. So this isn't something that we're doing that's, as with all things we do, this isn't something we're doing that's not accessible to everyone. And we will be adding this code to our open source section of our website, which we've been promising for a while, but we're kind of busy. But I do think we'll have out pretty soon. I mean, we definitely already set everything up in Git repositories and have it all straightened out. But we don't want to just release code onto the world. We like to kind of have some a little documentation, because I think when some people see the code for things like the Board of Awesomeness or even for the headset, they're going to question, like, is that it? That's all the code? But it really is. And so what we want to do is kind of take, you know, the dual approach we always do and do this really cool thing that's awesome, ties into this other project we're doing, but also kind of bring this, like, the mysticism of it and kind of blow that away and just be like, this is not hard. Now, it's not magic either, and it's not without its limitations, and you wouldn't want to necessarily use it for everything and so on and so forth. But we kind of want to make things accessible for everyone.
It's mind control, man. I can't believe Chaotic Moon is into mind control.
So the headset, more than you know. So the headset is prepped, and I put these pads on it, as you can see. Yeah. And then there's a little off-on switch here, and it's got a little wireless connection. So you can see the little blue light is on.
Is there like an emergency number that we should be calling just in case something happens here?
No, but when I first got it, I thought it would be funny.
Everybody's gone?
With one of our new employees, I thought it would be funny when I first got it. I was like, ah!
Perfect.
But you should be, I've got almost all green lights. Give me a second. Well, actually, maybe you can see that some of those lights are orange. There's a yellow one, right, on the back. So that's on this side of my head. And that just means that the contact is not, now I've got all green. What we're looking at is the actual EEG. And so the channel shaping for UV is set to 200. And if you look, and I have to do this trickily, you can see that it is taking all of the sensor data. And that is the data, that is my brain. That is what it looks like when I'm talking to you. That's the signals coming out, right? And there's a couple of other things that you can do, which is we can look at the magnitude of activity here and things, right? And there is a gyro in the headset. So if you look at this, if I get it where you can see, and then I move my head kind of violently, you'll see those big things. Now, you'll see how much I'm having to move my head to do that. So at first we did think, like, could we use gyro data in the Board of Imagination? And one, it's about your imagination. So we really didn't want to use the gyro data.
Right.
And I think this orientation might look better for your viewers. And then two, really don't want to be moving my head around and thinking about and then there's, what do the data packets look like, right? You can see. So that's just, regular packet data flowing out of my brain into but again, the most kind of impressive view or the display that we use most is this, which is basically what you would get off an EEG, right?
Right.
That's what this device is. And so there's various channels of different data, and as I do different things, if I move my head while I'm talking to you, you see that some of them move more than others, some of them don't. So we spent, the first, 24 hours coming up with the design and figuring out how we were going to involve this technology onto the board, and making some new mounts and things of that nature. And then we spent the next 24 hours basically recording data on my brain. So I played video games with my son. I played violent video games with my son. I watched a movie. I had conversations. I did this, and we recorded hours and hours and hours of data. And then I ran it through a little script we wrote to look at, when I was doing stuff, where was I getting these peaks? So basically, recording the data, taking little notes, like, oh my God, somebody told a funny joke, or whatever, just stuff that I could do to kind of get my head around it. And then Phil, of course, being the magician of the labs, and that's why he's the manager, took all of that and very quickly coded up several different options for how we could control the board. Some of those worked better than others. And what we settled on was this kind of focal point. Because when you focus your eyes and do some other things, whether you're squinting or not, that was what made the most sense, is that you would look somewhere you wanted to be, and then almost like pulling yourself or imagining yourself pulled that direction that would drive the board. And that worked out, really beyond all expectations. I have to tell you, it's been the most fun project, and it's actually I know it's only the second version of one of our boards, but it's more fun to ride than the other one. I don't have to worry about kicking the Kinect off the front if I fall or whatever. I don't have to worry about any lighting conditions. I don't have to worry about outside noise or other things. I do from the standpoint of I'm no different, and this is kind of interesting in parallel, I'm no different than the Kinect. The Kinect can get distracted. It's a microarray, and things can happen with picking these sounds in the environment. So can I. So kind of funny. It's kind of a weird comparison of humans and the human brain and computer brain, because I get I hear those noises, and just like it may flood it or it may be for a technical reason. There's too much noise. It can't pick out a voice command, whatever.
But it's distracted.
it's distractive, and I can get distracted the same way, and so it's kind of weird, and in some ways, somewhat eerie to go through some of these experiments and make those comparisons.
And just realize that it's just when you distill it down to data, there's no difference between you or a computer.
There's not a lot.
There's not a lot except for human to human interaction where you can actually have a conversation. So
to the joy of transhumanists everywhere, sir.
So there's got to be a reason. You're going to go down to South by Southwest. Well, you're not going to go down. You're going to go around the corner to South by Southwest, and you're going to do this. You're going to let people ride on this thing. Well,
we're going to let some of our key customers ride on it. It's kind of we have talked to several beverage companies that are interested at having things at sporting events and other things. So there is somebody who asked us if we could build 40 of these. Not with the mind control, but with the Kinect. And I have to be honest, as soon as you see the mind control, they'd be like, whoa,
forget the Kinect, mind control.
Right, and I'll be honest. I personally think the mind control is safer and better as far as a new user experience.
Well, the prep is there, but like as you said, if you can get that into the helmet, that makes it a lot.
That would there's the difference. I was just going to get to that, and that's exactly the difference. With the Kinect, you can have a helmet. With the EEG currently, you forego a helmet. Lawyers, not big fans of that.
No, I'm gonna say, no. You have to wear a helmet pretty much when you're walking down the street now, really.
Our insurance guys that work with the executive team here, also not a fan. I don't know how long it took them to call Mike and Ben, but I know that they did. I know it wasn't too long. They're like, that does not look right.
That's not safe.
Going really fast without a helmet, and you'll notice in the video it was like, and they're like, also there were cars in this one. Very, very bad, very bad. So yeah,
oh my God, really, like it's incredible. I can't imagine what comes next here. Is that if there's any kind of human flight, flying suits, I have to be there with you when this thing happens.
Well, you know what, we have, so there's so many projects. We have literally hundreds of ideas from the team here at Chaotic Moon and from the labs team, and we, as you know, we rotate developers through. From the games and the studio side of the house. So we've got kind of this in the supply of new perspective, right, with these things, which is what makes it kind of like a little idea engine. So what's next is we're going to try to, we're heading to Redmond, and we'll be with Microsoft on Monday. And if you'd like, perhaps Phil and I could talk to you from there, but we'll be showing off a very, very special item that we've created with a very large brand, and that's about all I can say right now. You already know off the record what it is, but it's going to be really cool, and we'll be on CNN, we'll be in the Wall Street Journal, all these other things. We'll do all the interviews like we normally do, but of course we'll always do something personal and special for you. So we'll make that happen. I mean, this is the news we read, so it's a big deal for us.
I love it. Well, so okay, I'm definitely going to call you on that. We'll get together after this has all been announced. But so when are you going to start selling these things? Everybody's going to ask that question.
Everybody has asked that question. So here's the plan, and the plan has always been this, and we're booked. We're a little slow on it, but the essentially the plan is to take the bill of materials and the cost of goods and the software and actually lay out a PDF instruction manual that's open source as well as the code that's open source so that you can go build one your own. Now, we're running into a couple of very interesting things with like different international law and responsibility. And to be blunt, things like hold harmless clauses and things like that, and what these mean. So, I don't know if we have to make it available in some countries and not in others. So that's it's not a technical difficulty or a will thing. It's just we're a very successful company. We have to make sure we cover all of our bases and dot our I's and cross our T's. But we will be open sourcing the Board of Awesomeness code, which now also has been updated and works with the Windows Kinect and the Xbox Kinect. They're a little different. They have different focal lengths, and there's some changes in them. It has also been updated to work with the latest SDK, and we'll be kept up to date with that until things are GA'd on that side. And of course, it's being kept up on the Windows 8 side as well. So those are active projects internally, and we've got the Git repositories, and we have invited a limited number, probably 5 to 10 people to start kind of participating and contributing. What we're looking for there is hopefully a couple of community leaders that once we kick it out, they'll kind of be the stars and they'll kind of go and take it over. And we'll still contribute, we'll still be there, but we want to make sure, the one thing about open source projects is if they're not well curated, and if you don't have somebody that can answer questions at 4 in the morning and things like that, we'll tend to get frustrated. And from personal experience, from sending me emails, that if you send me an email in June, I will definitely get to you before Christmas. So
That's right.
you can imagine right now, Phil wasn't that way. Now that he works in the labs, he's that way and more.
Yeah.
So if you sent one of a mail with like, I have a question about the code, and you heard back 4 months later, you'd probably have been like, I threw all that stuff, to Goodwill or in the garbage, months ago. So we want to make sure that we not just have the code and the instructions and all of the, all of the business concerns and everything addressed. More importantly, we want to make sure that we have a community. We don't care if it's 5 million people. We only care that it's the right 5, and that if you come into that little group and you want help with, how do you convert your brainwaves to the board, or how's the connect doing some of the trickery that we're doing there, that there's somebody who can help mentor you and explain it to you. And we're hoping that in doing that, those people kind of contribute back, and these things stay alive. These aren't, flash in the pan things, because that's certainly not why we designed or built them.
No way. And it's just such advanced technology. I can't wait to see what happens next. We just decided to sit down. I got a text message from Worley about this, about the video. Watched the video. He was available. I jumped on. We had this conversation about this. It's just something that we can do. But I love it. So you're heading off now. You're going west.
I'm going to dinner and I'm going to sleep. And then tomorrow, we're actually working with Discovery Channel Canada today and tomorrow. So for those people who are in Canada, there will be on Monday a special news segment on the project we're releasing. And then some point either before that or after that, there'll be 2 segments, which I'm kind of shocked by. One on the Board of Awesomeness and one on the Board of Imagination, which I thought they were going to combine them, and they may still choose to do that, but they were giving us the impression it'd be 2, and so we're really excited about that, and we're big fans of Discovery Channel, no matter what country it's from, and we've done a lot of work with them and other news agencies that are a little more nerdy, geeky science.
It's right up your alley. That Discovery Channel is, basically Chaotic Moon Labs is Discovery Channel.
They haven't realized that yet.
No, they haven't, but eventually they will, man.
They keep some of their equipment and their people.
What happened to that crew that we sent down? Whatever. They're Canadian. Yeah, that's it.
Just put this on for a second. Let me show you. Flip this switch on, right?
I love you. Won't remember. You'll just wake up one day and you'll be part of Chaotic Moon.
You'll be very happy about it. That's the important part, is happy employees.
Oh, man. Really, thanks for doing this, man. I really appreciate it.
Anytime, man. But I do have to go and get some dinner.
Get some sleep.
Yeah, 5 a.m. call for our shot list. So it's time to try to get at least a few hours sleep, because tomorrow we're basically riding the board in traffic and downtown and stuff, and I need to make sure I'm alert.
Just no squirrels, no nothing. Yeah, make sure that you just got the visors on. No ladies on both sides. Just focus on what you're doing, Worley.
I will do my best.
Okay, man. Thank you so much, Worley.
Hey, thanks again, Rob.